righty. Well, good evening. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Royston of BK Royston Publishing and Royal Media and Publishing and the author community, the book business bosses, as well as the hosts. Hold on, I need to put something on mute. Hold on. As well as the host of the Live Your Best Life. I'll probably have to do that introduction again at the end, but welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the business women or women in business. Oh my gosh, trying to figuring out every day, finding the balance. And each day, I don't know about those ladies over there and those in the Zoom room, and eventually those are going to be joining us in on YouTube. We're going to be finding the balance together. It's an ongoing thing. These ladies are not on because they get it done perfect. So don't anybody be intimidated by anything. It is a constant work in progress. So let me just give you a little bit of the backstory as to even why I did this. So I have been running into fellow businesswomen, entrepreneurs, artists, because I sing as well. So who say, "Oh, we're not together anymore," and I'm like, "Well, how's your husband?" I'm respectful of people's families. I said, "How's your husband?" "Oh, child, we're not together. We broke up. We separated. We got divorced. We what?" And I'm like, What?" And so I'm not really striving to get down up into people's business because I'm not a marriage therapist or marriage counselor. That's not my point. Is that I'm just seeing a trend, and it was something that I wanted to discuss, and not so much about the divorce rate because that's for somebody else to do. But I really wanted to find the balance and suggest some things to people of how we do it. And some days it's good and some days it's not so good. We all can nod yes that we agree with that because it's just that's just life. That's realistic. And to say, "Oh, I live in some la la, perfect paradise," is not reality, and somebody's lying to you. But I also, okay, so that's a group I meet. And then I also have business women, friends, and associates and clients who are single. And they're like, "Oh, I want to find somebody like your husband." I'm like, "No, you got to find somebody like your husband, because what works for me may not work for you. But then what the things that I do, you may not be willing to do. And the things that I make adjustments for, you may not be willing to do that. And there may be some things that you're saying, doing, being that just hasn't, you haven't found the right dude yet." So they're like, I'm looking. So you don't want my husband to travel with me and be there with me and hold the camera up while and date night later. And I said, I get that. But you got to prepare yourself for that. And that didn't happen overnight. It wasn't without me being divorced first and being separated and single for 13 years and improving me before I was remarried again. It was a whole lot Julianne had to go through. Yeah, Julianne K is my whole first name and two middle names. Julianne K had to go through a mind renewing process too as well. So it's not an easy thing. So then fast forward earlier this month, I can't believe it. I've done both of them in the same month. Earlier this month, I asked the husbands to come on first because I wanted the man's perspective. So we did the men's only panel. We had Pastor Gary Brown, and then we had Mr. William Rivers and Reverend Mr. Minister Derek Collins, and then my husband Brian Royston. The wild man. But anyway, that's my dude. And they had a wonderful discussion. We got some excellent feedback. He was like, "That was so good. That was everybody was so great." And I said, "Okay, now it's time for the wives." So to really not so much our side of the story, because I don't know about you guys. I pretty much agreed with everything they said. There was nothing that they said that I was like, "No, I'm gonna tell my side." This panel is not designed so much to tell the opposite side of the men, because I agree with everything they said, and I'm totally in agreement with it. I think this panel, in my mind, is to make sure that the ladies are ready. That single ladies as well as married ladies, it's this time for us to, as they say, get our team right and to really talk about some things that we have done on our team, on our side, to really make that happen and to really make that work. So, people in the Zoom room, people on, let me check, see if anybody's joined us on YouTube. Please, sure, if you're in the YouTube space, that you go ahead and put comments in the chat, questions in the chat, and all that good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to shut up. We know why we're here. And we're going to start in alphabetical order. So, Miss Karen Brown, Minister Karen Brown, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, what you do, and how people can find you on social media. Go.
Hello, my name is Karen D. Brown. I am the First Lady of Pilgrim Baptist Church and also an associate minister there. Everybody was introduced prior, so you know him.
Okay, so are you on your laptop or are you on your iPad?
Laptop.
Laptop, okay. Because you're breaking up.
Am I break? Let me see.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Okay, so I'm gonna go on to Vanessa,
Okay.
and I either need you to come on another device because I don't want you to keep going in and out. Okay, so I'll come back to you. Vanessa Collins, go ahead because we're gonna come back from Karen because I want to hear everything she has to say very, very clearly.
All right. Well, my name is Vanessa Collins, and I am a publisher, certified digital marketing strategist, and I help business owners and authors use digital mastery strategies in their business. I think we may have to have Asia to mute because I think it looks like there's a feedback loop.
Okay,
Asia's
there we
thing
go.
pops up. And that may have been what was happening with Karen. I'm not
Might have
sure.
been okay. So we'll just do
Uh,
that. Go ahead.
yeah. And so you can find me on social media under Vanessa Collins, Digital Mastery for Authors, Digital Mastery for Women. I have been married for, woo, are you ready? 30 years. We will be celebrating 30 years this year. And that's kind of it in a nutshell till we get to some juicy discussion.
Juicy discussion. All right, Karen, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Hi, I am Karen D. Brown. I am the wife of Pastor Gary Brown and also associate minister at our church. I'm excited to be here this evening. I wear a lot of hats, so it's hard to try to explain what I do in a short period of time. I am a development director for a homeless program, and I love doing that job because I always say I'm the best beggar in creating programs and begging the community for money. So I do that, and I'm also the founder of the ES3 Foundation, which stands for Eddie Servance, my middle child who we lost in 2018. We started a foundation in his honor to help like the millennials as far as dealing with suicide, depression, or different forms of fashions that the millennials deal with. So I just do a lot of different things. And I am an author. The fabulous Julia Royston published not one, but two books for me. And we have 3 and 4 on the way. So I'm excited about the journey that God has in line for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. The big credit boss. Come on through, lady. Come on through, boss lady. Woo.
Hey everyone, I'm Coach Asia Rivers. I am the owner and founder of Talk Child Care to Me, which is a child care agency that services children between the ages of 6 weeks to 12 years old. I am also the owner of Seal the Deal Credit Consultants, where I help business owners establish and utilize and protect their business credit and develop strategies for generational wealth. I'm based out of Louisville. I've been married for, well, it will be 8 years here in June pretty soon. So, whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm on your social media page, so you've been accepted in the doctoral program for.
I will have my doctorate of business administration degree, so that is up and coming. I started that program as soon as I finished my master's. So no break in between. So,
No, don't do it. Don't do it. That was my biggest mistake, making that. Mr. Rivers says okay, put it double O and keep going. Don't stop.
Right.
Where you go? So where are you going? You getting your doctorate from?
California University. So I'm online. Yeah.
And the master's is from?
University. It's a joint executive program between the University of Louisville and University of Kentucky.
Oh, shut up! The Cardinals and Cats can get together for something.
Exactly.
Come on. Well, I'm a UK grad, so go Cats. So I'm Julia Royston. I've been married this September 14 years. I own the companies that I own, and I publish, I sing, I write, I coach the Book Business Bosses, I host Live Your Best Life. There's just a whole number of things. But one of the things that really excites me is to be able to introduce people to other people who may not have ever met before. So I'm always excited about this, not only just to introduce authors, but to other business owners. So first off, even before I start with the questioning, I want you to find these ladies on social media, follow them. If you're interested in anything they're having, any webinar, purchase anything when it comes in the fall, or get the sweet potato pies from Karen when she rolls through. Asia is going to have her virtual conference eventually. I'll probably be on that too as well. And then Vanessa is always rolling out conferences, offers, virtual events. So follow these ladies so you can keep up with exactly what they're doing. Thank you for those of you who have shared and subscribed on YouTube. Thank you for those of you who have registered to get the replay or any of the handout or the other free gift. Y'all know I'm always going to be giving away something. So we definitely want to do that. And yes, who was the first one who logged in today was Miss Burnett. So she'll win the Queen book box for this session. So I'm giving away the Queen t-shirt. So you tell me what color you want, and the Queen book and the Queen journal. Okay. So with the preliminaries out of the way, I think my first question was to the gentleman, was to you all, was when I got married to Brian. First off, we were in our 40s. And then secondly, I had been singing and traveling for years. He did not meet me in a place where I'm not doing anything and then it just all of a sudden happened. I was on the move and on the go. So therefore, I said to him, all right, after we've been going out about 3 months, all right, let me take you to an event of mine. This is what I do. I'm on stage, and then I got to sell my CDs. At that time, I didn't have many books, but my CDs at the time, and singing and meeting people. And how does that dynamic work? And testing him out and talking and signing stuff and signing people up for my newsletter and all of that. I wanted to see what the dynamic he would have with other people, because I had been in a relationship where I was just in the store and this man says, so what do you think? Do you like this shirt? And the person I was with went off. I'm like, I don't know him. He just wanted to. So that jealousy thing, I couldn't tolerate. I was too old. I couldn't tolerate that type of behavior. So we'll start with Vanessa. Vanessa, were you an entrepreneur or on the entrepreneur? Now this is 30 years ago. So now you've been doing it a while. So yes, no.
I wasn't an entrepreneur, but I was extremely busy. So I was I worked full-time at that time as a chemical engineer with Amoco Oil Company. I was in ministry at Redeeming Ministries, in that same capacity of like head of the women's ministry, associate pastor type thing, over the youth ministry. So I was super busy.
Okay. So he didn't meet you and you were sitting there going, I don't have my call yet. Oh, I'm just here, doing anything. So you were already in motion. Karen, yes? No?
Well, we actually been married 15 years next month. So we're half of the Collins. 15 15 years. When I met him, I actually, several years prior, came out of a bad divorce. So I came with children, I came with issues, I came with stuff, and it's ironic because a week before we got married, he's somebody who never dated and never went out and never did anything, and was going to church. He was on a little deacon board and doing different things in the ministry. And I remember calling a friend a week before we got married and was like, oh my goodness, I can't marry him. He's all into church and he's so squeaky clean and he don't come with any issues and all that stuff. But then after you get married, you realize everybody got issues.
Oh yeah.
But I was working. I always worked hard from the time I was 15 with my first job at McDonald's, but back in the day when we made the real biscuits. So I always worked hard and I was always a go-getter, where he more was one, go to work, went to church. Okay, now it's time to relax. And I'm like, what is relax? We got to get started with the next project and got to do this and got to do that. And I think it's still kind of the same. And he tries to catch up sometimes, but he's going to always have his little sit in the corner of the chair, relaxed time, where I'm always thinking about the next project to do.
Exactly. Brian's the same way. He's like, what do I got to do? Do I have to go? Do I have to participate? Oh, what do I have to do? What do we have to be? You know, same thing. Asia?
I was actually finishing up my undergrad at the time, deciding whether or not to pursue becoming a pharmacist or either a pediatrician. And so I was working 2 or 3 jobs, and me and my husband actually met at work at the Kroger company. And we were friends for the longest before we even actually pursued any kind of relationship with one another. William's always been the type to just take care of family. That's what he knows. He's from a small, close-knit family, his mom and his sister. And so, you know, going into that relationship, I knew what to expect. However, that's not what I was accustomed to because I was a child of foster care. So just completely the roles have really kind of swapped. So I've always been busy. I've always been a self-starter, motivator, all of that. That's always been me. So as far going forward now, like he knows what to expect. He's like, when my wife is on the move, I'm right beside her. We're going right along. So.
Well, he's on the move too as well. I told him, I said, I love that video, honey. She was like, hey, go baby, go, hey. Go. He was rapping hard. He was like, hey, go baby. I love that. Oh, I love that. You haven't seen that? Go back to the Rivers, honey. They are knocking it out the park. As they say, move over, Beyonce and Jay-Z. They got that on lock. But I think, I guess, okay, so let me go hard, let me go deep, let me go low. Baggage. You know, a lot of times being in relationships, whether it's business or a romantic relationship is primarily what we're talking about today. But as you continue to, like Karen said, okay, I think about this idea, I think about this next project. Oh, what about this? What about this? And you're married to a 9-to-5er who's like, wow, what do we got to go for? And what do we have to, you know, what do we have to deal with? And then our own preconceived notions of what we need from our mate or what we want from them, you know. And then, you know, and I realized that the questions, go ahead and put them in the chat in the Zoom room and in YouTube. But, you know, what does that look like conflict wise? Your own, you know, coming from your own background. So let's, I know that was a loaded like 4-part question, but let's start with the baggage. And I'll be the first one to confess. I have my own baggage. I went through a divorce and it was because I don't have any children. So it was different for Karen's, but it was a lot. I mean, you know, and I told girlfriends, I'm like, if anything happens, it's gonna be my fault because it was a lot of that preconceived baggage that carries over, and the slightest thing. I mean, my ex his mama told him to get rid of me, okay, to divorce me. So, you know, when you meet a new guy and he says, yeah, and I'm a mama's boy and all that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be one day because I ain't doing nothing with you, dude, because you a mama's boy. But I found out later, of course, that he's a boy who loves his mama, and rather than his mama controlling him. But when you say those words, you know, and anything, but that was a carryover from a previous relationship. And so therefore, you're looking at this new dude looking through the lens of a previous relationship. So what does that look like? Who wants to jump on that part first?
I'll jump in there first. Oh, okay. Uh, Probably the biggest baggage for me was just coming from a different type of family dynamic and seeing that, go into play. So my husband did have a son before we were married, and that really did not wasn't baggage. And as far as baby mamas, I used to joke about this all the time. I probably had the best baby mama that anybody could have. Uh, his son's mother was wonderful. I mean, we had some little issues a little bit, but for the most part, she was great. uh, our biggest adjustment, and it was really for me because I came from a very small family. It was my mom and me, single mom. My a lot of my family were my friends. So I didn't have sisters. So, I had all these church sisters and all these, church brothers and all of that. Well, Derek came from like a real family. I mean, it was like there's a mother and a father and siblings, and they get together like all the time, like for holidays and for, hey, it's Saturday, let's go out to my folks' house. And they sit around and watch TV, and, mom cooks and all of that. And it was like, wow. And at first it was like really cool, because it was like this new novel thing. But then after a while it was like, oh my goodness, we gotta go again? Like, okay. And then holidays, got to be interesting, when it's particularly Mother's Day, when you are used to, my mom was always used to me being there with her for Mother's Day. And it's like, okay, so now we have two mothers,
Mm,
and he's used to being with his mom for Mother's Day. And so we have to balance. So that was probably just kind of my lack of coming from that type of real family environment was probably the biggest baggage that I brought to the table.
ooh, yeah, and that's an adjustment. That's a really an adjustment. And it was an adjustment for my family because the Roystons, they're all about holidays and all together. Now, of course, they were very inviting. Just tell your parents to come on over. But my dad's like, wait a minute, I'm used to y'all coming to my house. I mean, well, and so, so my mother's like, no, she's married, so no, you can't get all your way every time, just because she's married. So it does make a difference, that family dynamic. I'm sorry, Karen.
Um, I like how Vanessa said that his son wasn't labeled baggage. I love that because I think we got to start thinking that and saying that more often because we do include that, especially if you like me. I was a mom with three sons going through a really bad divorce. And I was, you go through a bad divorce and you think the next person you date is going to be this perfect person. So I went through some crazy stuff. I kind of can't wait to talk about it in the next book. But, but I went
Be
through
on
some.
the lookout.
But what's interesting when I met my husband, I always thought he was too nice. I always thought that, he came from a family where after so many his father was a pastor, and he'll tell you that they didn't grow up with him being a pastor. He was a teenager when he became a pastor, but by the time I met him, the family was a church family. It was a husband, a wife, 9 children. I always called them the Black Osmonds because it was 8 one girl, but um their family dynamic was so different than mine growing up and my grown up, how I was raising my own children and everything. So I was like, okay, this is like too good to be true. He's too nice. Please stop sending me flowers because I was programmed that something bad was going to happen. I grew up with so much trauma that I always felt that if it was a good week, boom, something was going to happen. So I was like, have my girlfriend call him and say, stop sending her flowers. I mean, I do some mean things. I'm surprised he even asked to marry me. But I think it's because the baggage I was carrying was emotional and mental from my past trauma, my childhood trauma, and then what I dealt with and what I didn't deal with. And what I always had to tell myself was that God has a plan. So when I realized that God was in charge and God had a plan, that he was sending me someone who was not going to look like what I expected, not act like what I expected, and because of his grace was not going to be what I was programmed and used to. So after I realized that, I was like, oh, okay. Then I wrote an apology letter. But I think my baggage was more mental. It was more emotional. It was more mental, and who's going to want to deal with all this? Because we're perfect and pretty on the outside. We could do our hair, our nails, and wear the cute clothes. But when it comes down to marriage, and you're sleeping with this person and you're waking up and saying good morning and you're going to work and I got to come back home to him. How can I act a certain way for years and years and years? And so that mine was more the emotional and the mental.
You got to be yourself. And that's where you take the mask and the wig comes off and the hair comes down and thank God the bra comes off. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Asian. Oh no, you good? You good?
Oh no, you were perfect. She hit the nail right in the coffin. I exact same kind of headspace. It mindset thing. Both of us had actually came from. I was divorced married and divorced at a very young age, and William, same kind of thing. He had a child already, which what didn't bother me because the child was a baby when we first met. And so we kind of grew with that relationship. Most of our issues and stuff, as far as baggage, it really just lied in my mindset, coming from the level of toxicity in my family, and being accustomed to that really played a big part in how I reacted in different situations. So I'm right there with Karen. I know exactly what she's talking about.
Well, but you realize that we also realize that it's not just our what I want to say, our intimate relationships, our personal relationships. It also spills over into our business. Yes. And I want to touch on that too as well, because I already know from the gentleman that they support you 1,000%. They got your back, all that. But it's still you that our headspace that has to be in the right space, that has to be in the right place, our mindset, and being strategic and being thoughtful and being, understanding, but then also being transparent and admitting, okay, I'm not in a good headspace today. This happened, that happened, that happened. And it's not your fault, even though I'm snippy today, or I may be hormonal today, or whatever. You have to really be honest with yourself, and then you have to be honest with your mate. And then you've got to be able to find that balance in between. It can't, it just has to be that balance. Now I know we all have, well, we used to have date night, date days and all that, right? Yeah. But now that we're in the house, has that dynamic changed, us being together all the time? Yes? No? Somebody want to go?
Well, Derek is still working, so he's not in the house all the time, but we do see each other more now because, he works in the casino industry. The casinos are not open, regular hours. So so he is more, like a 9 to 6, like a, 9 to 7. I normally never see him in the evenings when he's working. And so that has kind of changed, some of the work dynamics. I'm trying to be, more mindful of that. So where normally after a broadcast like this, I would jump into doing some more work. It's like, hey, I I done put on some lip gloss now and then comb my hair. Let me knock a video out. let me
Right.
let me go
Right.
live
Ooh,
on
the wig is just right now.
hey, let me do something. But I'm trying to remain, mindful of, okay, he's home, and I need to spend some time. And our date days, as he talked about, we spend a lot of time watching TV together. That's kind of our date type thing. So
Me and Brian, we can't watch TV together. I have my own show, and he has whatever he's watching in his ears. Because our taste is that we've never known that. We've always known from dating that our tastes weren't alike. We cannot. It's hard for us
well,
to
and
sit
it's funny
down,
because most of our taste isn't alike, but we have that narrow window of stuff
figure
that
it
we
out.
like
Okay.
together. So we'll watch that.
Mhm.
He's a big sports fan, so
I'm
uh,
a huge sport fan.
yeah, I
And
can't
he's
stand
not.
every
Brian's not a huge. He's a sci-fi YouTuber, TikToker, and I'm not. I'm like, that stuff is not funny, and he's just laughing, and I'm like, whatever. So he has it in his headphones, and I'm watching something else, which works for us. We're in the same space at the same time.
Yep.
That works for us. That works for us. So how's the schedule going? We together? Because I know Asia and William be together all the time.
We are most definitely together all the time. More so now that the businesses are closed right now. And so the first few weeks we struggled. Like we fell into our own patterns. I'm upstairs in the bedroom, doing papers or whatever else. He's downstairs in his man cave. The girls know, where's daddy? Downstairs. If you want to go see him, go downstairs. Because I just felt like we had been struggling anyway for the last year. A year ago, my husband quit his job of over 22 years and joined the business. I mean, working in the business alongside me. And so we had struggled, trying to find the appropriate balance anyway, from either, I don't want to kind of talk to you today, but I still got to work with you kind of face we got to put on, it just really was quite complicated. And so once we started to figure out our patterns, what worked for him, as far as me not being too overbearing with him, because I can be a little tyrant at times, and I had to figure out, okay, I got to back up some and give him his space and really allow him to figure out what worked best for him. And so just like I had to adjust whenever I started the business, so he had to do the same. And so, really communicating back and forth was really big, just like it is now, more so. Hey, what you doing downstairs? Can you come upstairs? Can I have 5 minutes of your time? Hey, let's watch this movie together. That's what we're doing. Either we may be playing a game alongside each other on versus each other on each other's phones, maybe reading a book, or just taking out the time to strategize our next moves in our business is what's really been big. So yeah, it's taken all forms, but we're together all the time. The other key factors is the children. We have three girls, so which play a major part in that. So they love their daddy. So as soon as mom comes in the picture, it's like, oh, daddy, I want to hold your hand. Daddy, can I have a hug? Daddy, can I have kids? They are truly daddy's girls. So
Yeah.
it's been quite the
I can't
adventure.
say I blame them, because I was always my daddy's girl too. Okay, so Miss Lewis in the YouTube channel says allowing the husband to be the husband and allowing the man, we had that hard question with the gentleman of the king of the castle, the head of the house and all that. I'm pretty old fashioned. I mean, for me, I'm real old fashioned. I'm real old school. I mean, I always feel like if he's got to say he's the head of the house, he's not. But I make sure that he just is. I mean, I'm old school as far as that's concerned. I don't think we don't have to say it or know it. We do it. It is what it is. And finding that balance from the CEO wife to the boss to being, the wife, and they said it best when they said, every smart head of anything understands what's in their house. They understand what gifts and talents and abilities. And yes, there, my father used to say anything with more than one head is a freak. But my mother was right there with him the whole time, doing their business the whole time. So, she offered this, she helped him with that. When he was in the classroom, she went and picked up the bills, and I did the invoices, and she went and got the checks and put everything in the back. I mean, she ran it while he was in the classroom. So I think anybody who really is a smart leader in any way, shape, or form understands what they have. I sure do understand with this age of technology that I'm married to somebody who's in IT for 31 years. Okay, so technology's not an issue, shouldn't be an issue when, and as they say, because I sleep with my tech. Thank you. Oh, glory, I praise you. Because you understand what their strengths and their weaknesses are. So, all right, so I need a tip from each of you. If you were single and to do it all again, not anything, would you marry anybody different? We're not going down that road. I want you to know what would be one mistake that you made, even if it was in your mindset, that you would tell a single boss, a single woman who's an entrepreneur. She works, she got the side hustle. She may do ministry, because I'm thinking of one person now specifically who's like, pray, Julia, pray. I mean, I don't want to just go so high that I can't attract no man. I mean, who wants to do that? But I want to be all I can be, but so I got to settle. And Brian's like, no, you don't settle. But but it's getting hard out here for a chick, for a boss chick, it's getting hard out here. Like, what am I supposed to do? How do I, what? And so making sure that, how do I have my standards high, but then am I always going to be alone? And do I have to be okay with being alone? Like, all right. So what does that look like? So what tip would you give somebody? What I'm with Brian, don't settle, but I'm also like, you have to make sure, does he have to have a PhD like you do? Does he have to be? He can be on your level mentally, but does he have to be on your same level academically? And does he have to be on your same level business-wise? Just because you're headed, fortunately, I think it's my biggest thing, is we going in the same direction, have the same goals. We may aim at it a different way, but we have to be going down the same road. I mean, I've been in a relationship before where I thought we still on 65 North, and he was going 70 West, and I thought I was going, you know what I'm saying? You're not on the same road. So that's my thing. So I saw Asians here go, no, do we have to be on the same level that way?
You do not have to be on the same level. I know when William and I started dating, I think that was a really a smack in the face that I had to kind of hit in the wall, that everything isn't for everyone. And he even put himself in a position to be able to, hey, keep up with me. He tried to go back to school and he just could not hack it. And he's like, I would rather support you and understand and know what you go through, and we can, flourish together. And so that's basically what we've been doing this whole entire time, because again, I lacked experience. However, I had a bunch of knowledge that I could apply and use to my benefit. And he, like I said, he's experienced, so therefore he could smell BS a mile away. So where I couldn't.
I'd want William on my team if I was Brian and William together. Oh, we gonna have a fight. Don't come for us. Don't come for us.
He's like, baby, don't do it. Don't do it. We're not going down that route. He was like, we're not gonna. He was like, don't you do that? Don't you give that person that money? Don't you? So and so that's how we operate together. And so that's why. And he tells me, I said, baby, you the real MVP. I know what you do for our family. That's the way that, he talks to me personally, but he also talks to me in front of our children as well. Mm-hmm. And so, I just find it, because he's a great provider, great supporter of everything that I do, because I lacked that in my past. So it's like, I really love this. So I think that's really what brings us, together and closer. And the tip that I was going to tell everyone, just be present when you're dating. I know that it's oftentimes that we get caught up in the everyday hustle and bustle, especially if you're single. I'm pretty sure you get caught up in that hustle and bustle of what you're going to strive and what you're going to do next. But just be present when you're dating, so that way you can get the full gist of that person, who they are, who they want to be, what are their goals and aspirations.
Mhm. Karen?
Well, I agree with Brian a little bit, where don't settle, but also don't date just because other people think you should be dating.
Mm.
Date when you're ready to date when you're comfortable to date, and date who you want to date, not just because your best friends done set you up on 16 blind dates so they can see if they found your match for you. And I think the most important thing is, especially if you got your business, because a lot of us can have our business going 100%. We can have the money in the bank, we can have everything right, but we don't know who we are. So figure out who you are before
Mhm.
you worry about dating someone else. And then once you figure out who you are, you're going to attract who you're supposed to be around. You're going to attract.
Vanessa? That was good, Karen.
Yeah, so mine kind of piggybacks on Karen's is really understand your values, your core values, and look for that person that has a real heart for those core values. So for me, I mean, business is great and aspirations are great, but family is the most important thing. And Derek loves his family. He just absolutely, when you talk about somebody that would lay down their life for their family,
Mhm.
he would do that. And so that's, as if you're single, kind of understand what's really important for you. And I'm just blessed because I really hadn't figured all that out.
Mhm.
God just took care of me that way.
Mhm.
I hadn't figured all of that out.
Mhm.
Uh, but as we started going through, you have um, the corporate career, and it's great. And, you have the ministry and you have the business and all of that. You realize that the most important thing is family. That's what I realized with our three children and a bonus child. That's the most important thing. And so, you want to make sure that the person that you are yoked with, because you still, the Bible talks about being unequally yoked. And I think you got to look at being yoked in the right spots. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean I got a degree, he got a degree, I got a business, he got a business. But if I have a love for God, they need to have a love for God. They at least need to like him.
Oh no, I need him to love him.
you know, if I have love for family, they gotta at least, have a love for family. And I was just blessed that, the person that, God had for me loves him, has a love for God and a love for his family.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world. Okay, so I know the Steve Harvey book, what are your goals or whatever, but I think that's important. I think that's important to be able to what are your deal breakers? What are your things that you just can't tolerate, that you just won't tolerate? What is it? Infidelity, forgiveness, what else? A provider. Now how he provides and how you provide is two different things. Putting your money together, I mean, you gotta have a plan and idea. Now it may be a little different because I didn't have I was just like work, and I can work, so it don't matter. But God, he had other things in mind. He had other plans in mind for me, and I'm gonna tell you, God's plans are the best. I mean, they are always the greatest, and they are always the best because you can't see the future. You don't know where you're gonna be. I mean, when I met Brian, I was singing 70 events a year. I didn't have the publishing company. I had For the Kingdom Ministries, and I was rolling right along and sending out my monthly newsletters and just happy to sing on the stage. And I thought that was it, but that wasn't it. That wasn't what all God had in store. And so you got to, be okay with having someone in your life who's ready to move to that. So we only have about 12, 15 minutes. So I want to hear from the people in the Zoom room. Anybody else have a question, a comment? Say something to me. Are we on the right track? Or you got a question? Come on. I know people in the replay may say something, but go ahead and put question in the comments. And now, one of the things we haven't talked about is conflict when we don't agree. So Brian and I, we have our meeting in the middle of the bed. That's what we call it. And that's the middle of the bed is kind of our safe place where we go when, when we don't necessarily agree. And, you say your side. We went through that with marriage counseling before we were married. They required it at the church. So that was one of the things that, every side needs to be heard. You need to shut up and let him talk and let him say. And then he is quiet and then you talk and then you come to some kind of agreement in the middle when you don't necessarily agree. And sometimes, so Miss Monette says, don't try to change him. If you need to change him, leave him alone. I agree with that. Anybody else have a comment? I agree wholeheartedly with that one. You can't change.
I so agree with that, because if you got to start changing someone, that that's not your child, that's not your son.
I know that's right.
You got it's time.
That's what my ex's mother used to say. When y'all gonna have me and some kids? I said when I finish raising him. I said when I finish raising him, and I knew, how you're like, well, I'm gonna stay. You said I do, then you realize this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work.
Pay attention to the signs while they're dating, because
I wish that was always clue. And when I asked like the people, I asked this pastor, I asked the mothers in the church, I asked the people, and they were like, yeah. And then when I got there, I'm like, this is nothing like y'all said. Well, we thought maybe he would change. I said, y'all lied to me. And
but
like, we
That's
know.
exactly why I said be present. That's exactly why I said be present.
Y'all lied to me. Y'all lied to me. I mean, the mothers in Zion lied to me. They were like, well, he's a nice guy. We thought maybe, he would grow up and kind of change. You didn't tell me the truth. Oh my God. So you can't go. People will show you who they are. Believe them. The first time.
But with the
first time Miss Monette said people will show you who they are, believe them. I'm like,
yes.
No, I should have known something was up when I really didn't meet the family until the end. Till we were like engaged. And that's when I met them. Yeah, that was a mistake. No, I didn't. I told Brian, I want to meet everybody. Who's in the jailhouse? Who's in the outhouse? Who's in the crazy house? I'm going to every event, every major event. What do you do on Valentine's? Now, we almost broke up about that because he didn't believe in Valentine's. But everything else he was on point with. Easter, Mother's Day, what do we do on Father? I went through a whole year. That's the reason why it was a year before we got married, because I wanted to know what you're going to do on all the holidays. I was smarter, Miss Monette, the next time. I was older, too. So, yeah. Let me check in the... I'm sorry, Vanessa, were you going to say something? No, we can't change them. We can't change them dudes. Whoever they are is what they're going to be and what they're going to do.
I think now with social media being so big, it's kind of easier for you to find out a lot of things about who you're dating. It ain't like back in the day when we used to date and we barely had cell phones. We had to run and stop at the corner with a beeper. So it's different now where you can kind of investigate before you even think about going on.
Oh yeah.
And you should do that.
You should. Yes, you should. Yeah, you should.
Use those tools.
I worked at the courthouse, Cincinnati courthouse, and I got friends with one of the clerks, and I'm like, this is his name. This is where he says he lives. Check him out, girl. And she said, I got you, girl. I got you. So, you're like, I got you on lock. I got you, girl. And I'm like, she verified a lot. And it was just a guy I was dating. I knew that wasn't going to work out either. too much drama, too much going on, too much. But it was just I started to get wiser. It took that one major relationship to really
Yes.
fall out, to really, and friends and who they are. And I'm sorry that thing, you don't marry the family, you marry him. No, you don't. You marry everybody. You marry all of it.
And also when we're dating or getting ready to date, listen, especially to the siblings. You said the mother said something, especially the siblings. When you got siblings telling you their brother's useless or a dog, pay attention.
Yeah. Flag, red. Where's my big red? Where's the big red flag? Big red flag. Big red flag. Stop. Stop in the name of love. Okay, so thinking about business, because I just, we don't have but a few minutes, and then because I know we can talk all night, because I love all three of you, so we can talk all night. But really about the business, I need a business tip for people who are thinking about being in business, who want to be in business. Now, we talked about having your relationship balance. You got to have date night. We got to have great communication. We got to have time where, which is hard for me because I'm a workaholic, but there's times where I have to shut everything down. Like when I go to bed tonight, my phone stays in here, the office, and then I don't take the phone in there. And Brian may have phone and all that in there because that's where he hangs out in his office. But my phone, it stays in here. And they know if they call me after 8 o'clock, they not call, I'm not answering. And I'll get with you in the morning. But for people who are traumatized right here to this point, put your business hat on, and let's really just talk like 5 or 10 minutes on that if y'all got time about rethinking. And I was telling Vanessa about an email that I got from a PR coach, really talking about the reset, that we're really in a reset, that we're really reevaluation, rethinking everything, our relationships, and having some invisible virus, like you could die. Like it's not just like, oh, those people way over there. I mean, it's a world, something pandemic that we have not seen on these proportions in a long time. So if you're thinking about business, if you're not thinking about business, if you're thinking about your job, totally different. I think one of the biggest things is balance there too as well, because you can give everything to a business, you can give everything to a job, and then when these things happen, people are making decisions about your life that you have no control over. And I say it all the time. I say it, Vanessa hears it all the time at every event. I have control issues. And so therefore, I know there are certain things that are beyond my control that I do not have any control over. But there are some things that I know I need to get better control over. So the things that you can control, how much money you save, how much money, how you spend your money, how you spend your time. Are you wasting time? Have you fulfilled any goals and dreams that you had on your list that may not even take any money? They may just take research and some time. Do the things that you plan or that you thought about. And if nothing else, research them to know whether it's a yes or it's a no. This is legacy time. This is the time that if you don't know your purpose, that you find out what that purpose is and then reset and head in that direction, whatever that looks like. Don't compare yourself to other people, because sometimes that's not wise, the Bible tells us, but also you've got to get on your course and stay on it and what that looks like. So you got a business tip, a life tip, a career tip, something. Those are like 5 of mine, but Vanessa.
On the business tip, this is a very interesting time that we have, and so don't waste this time. Use this time to, depending on where you are, if you are in the reset stage, use this time to figure out, kind of where you're going, and make sure you're including your mate in those conversations. Uh, this may be a time where, maybe a building time. And so when you are in a building stage, I think probably the biggest tip is making sure you communicate that. If you are the female business owner and your husband is not in the business, make sure you communicate. And a lot of times husbands don't necessarily want to hear all the details. So they don't necessarily want to hear that, I got to build this landing page and I'm trying to hook up the autoresponder and it's not working right and da 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 da. They don't want to hear all that. But, you at least need to let them know, hey, sweetie, we working on a big project and it may take a few more hours right up and through here. Have those conversations so that it doesn't come across as, oh, you just don't want to spend time with me. Last week things were fine. Now this week you don't want to spend time with me. And they don't realize, well, that's because I'm 2 weeks out from a launch and I'm behind and I got to get stuff done.
And this is how much money we're gonna get after I do this launch.
Exactly.
So that'll help a whole lot when we understand what the goal is.
Your husband.
Yeah.
So have the conversation. We always talk about speaking in our customers' language and writing copy and all of that. Your husband, the right copy, the right thing to say. What's the motivator? Does he need to know what the projection is for this launch? Hey, sweetie, if I do this right, this could be a 20K launch. Go, start with that before.
Lead with that.
Yeah, lead with that before you talk about, hey, I'm not gonna be able to cook dinner tonight. Can you bring something in? And it's just like, oh well.
Karen, Asia, either one, take it next.
I would say, as far as the business side, always stay focused, regardless. Married people, single people, always stay focused. Your short-term goals, your long-term goals. As far as the relationship side, I agree with everything. I think I agree with everything Vanessa said. She me 15 years from now. So I'm loving it. But I agree with, as far as explaining what you're doing, why you're doing it. With my husband, it was interesting. And Julia, through all our million conversations, we're getting the books published and everything. With him, understanding, and I would run the numbers so fast because it started making sense to me. Okay, if I pay this much for 100 books and this and blah, 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 and in 3 weeks we could have this profit. He was like, well, wait a minute, for real? Well, we need to order some more. Well, what could I help to do? Let me get that bag ready for the presentation. Let me get that bag ready for So I think it's all about the communication. And when you have that communication factor, you will have so much peace because you're not reaping the benefits by yourself. The whole family unit is reaping the benefits and everybody can enjoy the whole process. We got to stop looking at just the end of the finish line. Well, you said once you wrote that book, we're going to be back like they're doing this. No, you write one book, other things got to come after it. So I think when you go through the process together, my husband right now has the luxury of being home because of COVID-19 and working from home office, and I still have to go. I'm one of those essential people because of the shelter program. I still have to go outside. So as far as he does most of the cooking anyway, I just do the big holidays. But so we found that balance. And like yesterday I came in, I was exhausted. When I say exhausted, and I'm never usually exhausted to the point I was yesterday. Once I came upstairs and changed, I couldn't even go back downstairs. So he brought the whole tray up with all the dinner and everything I needed. So it's that finding that balance. And I would do the same thing for him. Now, that's Julia, my phone was not left in another room. I did have my phone because of the ministry, it seems like we're never off. So if I do a live video for something or we do Bible study, immediately after we're getting messages and text messages where we may have to counsel someone.
Right.
I've done suicide counseling sessions immediately after certain things. So we're never off, but I think it's finding that peace. And like last night, he was like, where's that book we used to read together? We need to do a quick devotion.
Right.
So we did that, and that kind of brought the piece back down
Right.
for the mental and emotional. So I think the whole thing is communication and not forgetting how you communicate.
Correct.
And I always like to tell people, remember why you dated them in the first place, or why you said I do when he pulled that pretty ring out.
And you all are in it together, which makes a difference.
We
It's
are.
not like he's not in ministry or you're not in ministry.
Well, we're both-
Why you gotta communicate with that person? Boo! This is a suicide call. Like this is life or death,
Right.
and understand that. And I think that has a lot to do with it, and people not understanding what that looks like and what that is like.
Yeah, it's helped us because we're both in ministry and we're both always been in the mental health field. So
Yeah. So that, Asia.
I'm kind of speechless over here. These two ladies are on fire. Like I'm over
Now,
here.
we weren't gonna I wasn't gonna bring you on with no slackers. Come on, boo.
Look, I'm over here taking notes.
Come on, boss lady.
No, but on a personal level, I always tell people, make sure that you take care of your mental health at the very least, because it feeds over into every interaction that you have with someone else. Personally, I struggle from anxiety and depression, and so what eases some of those stressors, those triggers is by writing. Even just pulling in my children and stuff like that and say, hey, come write with mommy. What was your day like? Write it on this piece of paper. Just really staying connected and making sure to take care of your mental health more so now than ever, because we're all stuck in this house together. Business wise, that at 95% of my day is business. From the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, it's like business, especially with balancing all three of them. And so right now, because none of them are open, it doesn't mean that I still don't have anything to work on. What I'm working on is taking the time to strategize and build and really mapping out what's going to come next in this next season, because things are going to look quite different with two of my centers. Childcare is a very touchy subject, and so it's like really trying to figure out, okay, my entire lifestyle is going to change. The way that I do business is ultimately going to change. Mm-hmm. And so, my husband, we profit together in this. So we are just really trying to figure out, okay, what's going to work for us, what's going to help other families and stuff through this time. So that's really what we had been focusing on, and I would expect that anyone else that's in business really mapping out what comes next in this pandemic. Business is a very, very tricky thing, and to each his own, and it's just as much as hard work you're gonna put into it, you'll get out in the end.
And you get putting in that entrepreneurial balance is really hard. For me, right now, I've had a wonderful opportunity to get some stuff done. I told Vanessa the other day, do you know you can? She's like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you that for the long. Do you know you can? She's like, oh, Julia, you're like 2 years too late. I was teaching that 3 years ago. Where you been? I'm like, okay. Maybe I hate it for whatever happened to everybody else. I'm in tears and watching people on the Facebook line, but I said, for me, this has been a time for me to get stuff done. Do you know on your phone just finding out and not on the road. And I love being with Karen and everybody, but I can sit here and say, well, wonder what that does, and click on it and figure out how that works. And is that how the autoresponder works? This is what she told us 3 years ago, and I'm figuring it out. But I'm really determining, where you're going to head and where you're going to go. My whole purpose for this evening is to really have that open conversation with other people who are doing everything. These ladies on here, I'm not the busiest one on there. Some of their schedules, I get tired looking at them and on all the things that they're doing. So please, I do have a gift to give away, and I'll have the replay and the gift for everybody to download. I'll have that tomorrow. I'll look for that in your email. Also, Gmail and all those emails they had. So look in social folders, look in the promotional folders, look in all them folders, because I've had some people, it's not there. I'm like, boo, it didn't bounce back. You got it. So look in the social folders, look in the promotion folders. Also follow them on social media. I know they have offers coming up and things that they're working on. If not now, look for launches. I know Vanessa has a launch. Karen has a new book out. Asia has, she's helping small businesses, I know intimately, get the loans. And if you're in childcare, if you know somebody who's thinking about childcare, if you are thinking about business and wanting to know about your business credit, hit Asia Rivers up while she has a moment before daycare and child care centers open back up. So she's there to coach you as well. If you need uh, counseling and you need a book on hearing about and reading about Karen Brown's life, and you're looking at her now, but you don't know her story. So it's a powerful story. So reach out to her as well and follow her on social media. Her and her husband have Bible study online. Vanessa Collins has a call in every morning at 8 a.m. I think about them. I don't necessarily am able to be on as much as I used to, because I was always headed to school then. So I would be chiming in as more then than now. But it's a powerful thing. She's been in ministry online every morning, Monday through Friday for 10 years at least 10 years or more. So she brought her whole church family with her when she moved. They communicate every morning. So follow these ladies. The Digital Mastery for Women is awesome. Asia Rivers, Karen Dixon Brown, the Book Business Bosses. Follow us, engage with us, talk with Royston if you're interested in the services I offer. But get what you need during the season. I think more than anything else. Bottom line, as my uncles used to say, the rubber meets the road. Get what you need. Figure out you in this space and shape and time. I think that's one of the primary things that we've been given an opportunity for, is to sit down and focus. Where do I want to be? Where am I? Where am I at right now? What I don't like about where I am right now, not me, not your husband, not your boyfriend, not the big mama and all them. No, 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 no. It's, as the old song you say, it's me, it's me, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not them, not that, and down there and that. No. Take the time to figure you out and ask God to lead you and guide you. And then when he tells you, and some of them things, hint, hint, he done already told you. You don't need to go into no deep prayer, because you got a list of things you haven't even done. So like me with the auto responders and some tech things, I just need to get them done. My new store and whatever else I'm doing, I need to get them done. So this 40-day period, this period that we're in right now, get it done. Make it happen. Go for it. When I die, I say it all the time, I want to die empty. I don't want to be saying, oh, one day I thought, well, no, I don't want any of that. So thank you, ladies, so much for being. If I don't see any other questions, one more time for this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miss Lewis. She really enjoyed it. The ladies in YouTube. So feel free to leave us a comment and all that good stuff. You'll be hearing from us on tomorrow. Thank you very much, ladies, for being a part of this, being with us tonight. Hopefully we'll be on something else next month, because we're gonna be in this space. I'm gonna be lighting up YouTube for a while, so we're gonna do it. Thank you so much. You all be blessed. You all have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye, YouTube first.